How did survivors find their families after the war? I was just asked this question and felt it deserved its own dedicated video. After survivors were liberated, many were separated from their families. However, one thing you may notice about survivor stories is that nearly everyone stayed in some kind of group. For example, mothers and daughters, brothers, sisters, or friends from home often stayed together, as psychologically having someone else helped people cope. Otto Frank, Anne Frank's father, pictured below with her mother Edith, learned his wife had perished from a friend from Holland who was in Auschwitz with Edith. That woman saw him in Katowice, where many Auschwitz survivors went immediately after liberation and recognized him. So, word of mouth was one way. The Red Cross also began collecting names and forming databases where people could look for the names of surviving relatives or could give the names of those they were looking for. Otto Frank submitted his daughter's names. A pair of Dutch sisters in their 20s, Lynn and Jannie, had taken the girls under their wings in Bergen-Belsen. They saw the girls succumb to typhus. After seeing Otto's ad, Jannie contacted him to let him know. That conversation, and hundreds of thousands of others like it, must have been excruciating. Some families told each other to return to a certain place if anyone survived. So sometimes people were able to meet their families there. Towns decimated by the Holocaust also had bulletin boards where people could post their relatives they were looking for or any information they found. For a myriad of reasons, including violent anti-Semitism, the communist takeover, and complete loss of property, most Jews chose not to repatriate and instead immigrated. In the meantime, while waiting to immigrate, they often lived in DP, or displaced persons camps, which kept records. I should also note that most Russian survivors, Jewish or otherwise, were unable to repatriate as they were literally blocked from going back. But all of this is another video topic. The International Tracing Service, or ITS, was formed and held the majority of survivor names. They would also circulate photos of children to DP camps and other places, as many of them separated from their families could not remember their names. This is an example of a child who did not know his own name. His photograph was circulated in hopes of finding relatives. This girl did know her name, but her photo was still circulated in papers in hopes of finding her family. ITS became Arolsen Archives and still holds a vast database. Families can also write into Yad Vashem and fill out forms that are placed on their website about what they know of people's fates. To this day, people are still utilizing this service to find out about relatives or be reunited with them. In some cases, it helps museums give families private belongings back. The sad truth is that many survivors passed without knowing what happened to family or friends, and many people's fates will remain unknown to history.